Ladies and gentlemen, big Ferry news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another ASMR of Big Hairy News. Is that right? Is that how you do it?
I don't know.
There was a real strange thing on TikTok a wee while ago where every second time you flick through, someone would be go. It's really weird. I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Hey team, how is everyone? How are you, Chewy? You still got, have you got a frostbite anywhere yet?
Oh, I'm sick of it being so, like, just rain or don't. Like, it's the misty, foggy bullshit that just really depresses the hell out of me. It's just been constant for the last, 3 days.
And it's huge amounts of water as well. Like it doesn't feel like you get out of the car and walk to a shop. You don't really get that wet, but it's just a constant drizzle. And I noticed that I haven't brought it up, but maybe I should. Every time you get one of those big heavy storms, the students are kayaking through university, and there's photos of them doing it again this time around. So there is a vast amount of water coming down in total. It's just coming down very gently and quietly. I'm gonna look it up. How are you, Mel? What's been going on today? Busy?
Oh, nothing, just the last day of my work week. This week I've been just looking at the state of things of the world, and it's a lot at the moment. I think, it's always been a lot, but at the moment it's a lot.
Yeah.
Just everything going on in LA and Gaza. Maybe the Israelis are going to attack the Iranians because there's not enough fucking chaos in the world.
Yeah, there's something going on,
Says someone changed our water out for meth. Is that what's happened? I don't know. But I took solace in the fact I saw a little clip of Greta Thunberg. Trump's gone out and said that she needs anger management. And her response to that, which I believe with every fiber of my body, that the world needs more angry young women. I think that sort of gets things done.
So you're looking at, obviously, Otago University today. This is on the ODT. This is a very small swell. I mean, it's a lot more than it normally is. The water is normally about a third of the way across that because it's only, and it's very, very, so this is more than it is. But sometimes you get full scale waves, just in this bit up here, where it starts to fall back on itself. They sometimes are humongous waves in the really bad weather, but it's big enough to give, university kayakers a bit of fun in central Dunedin, but not big enough to really cause. I mean, I noticed a few manhole covers having water coming up through them, and you normally see that when there's been like a storm or really heavy water. It's just been consistent for 48 hours, just a gentle sort of just coming down gently, but vast volumes overall. Yeah. Anyway, I haven't run the dog for 2 days. That's how I know. And she's getting a little bit antsy. So I'm in a place where it doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. If it triples in volume, it's umbrella and gumboots time to get to the park tomorrow. No matter what. No matter what. Hey, I've got some nice news to share with y'all. If you're feeling a bit stressed and everything's all over the world at the moment. And we can talk about that because, of course, America is starting to pull its workers out of that region, thinking something big is coming through Israel. So there's stuff going on. I got an email tonight, though. I don't know who this Patrick is the email speaks of, but, from Women's Refuge. And it said very clearly, your safe night booking has recently been used by a woman that desperately needed it. On her behalf, we wanted to know how much it meant. So that's lovely.
That's you, fam.
Yeah, that's you guys. That's you guys. Technically, we'll get 45 or 44 more of those because we bought 45 safe nights. This but that was nice to see that in my inbox and think about all the work that you guys did to help support women's refuge and buying safe notes. I'm just going to turn my phone off with it chirping at me. I have my phone on silent 90% of the time, and the one time I don't, it chirps at me. So yeah, lots going on tonight. Gosh, the Maritime Union, what do they say? That they're on life support, the ferries are on life support or something similar, or hanging on by a thread, whatever I said in the description. A really interesting conversation this morning between Ginny Anderson and Paul Goldsmith. It was, you know what, I nearly stopped watching because it was one of those ridiculous questions. So, how much are you paying for a block of butter? From Chris Chang, I think it was. But then it actually turned into a conversation about where we are politically and what's happening with the cost of living crisis. It's not long, but we'll play that for you. And heads up, Chewy, this government is blaming like the impact of worldwide pressures on the cost of living crisis going up. Isn't that interesting how when you're in government, pressures, uncontrollable pressures from around the world are causing the fiscal issues. But when Labour was in, those uncontrollable pressures from around the world were seen as moot. That's nothing to do with how bad you guys are. But now...
Jacinda crashed the entire world's economy.
Apparently.
Like just one person.
Yep.
So, wow.
Also, I've got a little treat for you all, and it's going to be a treat for this weekend. But about 2 years ago, we'll tell you the full story when we get into it. I had a conversation with Chantelle Baker. Some of you have seen
Friend
clips.
of the show, Chantelle Baker.
Some of you have seen clips from that conversation. Some of you, if you're a patron, may have seen the whole conversation. Well, Chantelle is back in the news today to do with the defamation case. And Chewy, I think it's time. I think it's time the full interview went out for people to have a look at for themselves.
Oh yes.
So
yes,
we'll give you
absolutely.
the rundown on that when we do it. But there was we were just a couple of young whippersnappers and we weren't quite sure what to do with ourselves back then. But we'll explain that all again, how it happened, where it happened. Yeah, so we'll get onto that as well. And some interesting polling going on at the moment. Interesting polling. It's we don't pay too much attention to the polls mid-season, but we do look at sort of the trends. And the trend at the moment is basically it's too close to call. You know, one poll has a national-led government and one poll has a Labour-led government. And you know what we say about all that kind of stuff. We're not really interested in because the only poll that matters when it comes to forming a government is on election day. It might be an old saying, but it's a very true saying. But it's interesting to look at the trends. And it's interesting to look at, you know, I don't want to say Labour's doing a terrible job. It's not that. But what I will say is traditionally, after you've just been booted out of office quite violently, you are then in the wilderness for a very long time. And I think it's testament to how bad this government is, rather than how good Labour is at the moment, that they are within cooey of this government. They should be, you know, the government should be up in the 40s and the opposition should be down in the 20s. That would be the normal pattern sort of in the first term, especially only halfway through the first term, well, a bit more than that. But yeah, it's interesting to have a look at the trends and what's going on. So we might have a quick look at that as well. Anything else, Chewy? Anything else going on?
No, we should start the show. People will be wondering what's going on.
Nah. Another interesting story on the news tonight. One news, I think, we're not going to show it, but about all the tradies that are moving to the South Island. Last night's story was about people moving to the South Island. There was a story on One News tonight about tradies moving to the South Island. Now, when they say tradies to moving to the South Island, what they mean is moving to Central Otago. I don't think tradies are heading off to Timaru, blessed from Timaru, but Queenstown, Wanaka, there is building booms going on. And so, you know, North Islanders who are struggling to get a builder today, they're leaving in their hordes to either go to Australia or come to Central Otago. So just you might want to get your kitchen sorted out pretty quick smart, that's what I'd say. Huge thanks to all of our patrons. Had a few patrons sign up this week. Very grateful for you guys who do that. We will be doing a bit of a stock take, I guess you'd say, of the patrons hopefully over the weekend, because I'm sure there are some people on those credits at the end that need to be moved around, and probably some people that are no longer patrons, and maybe I missed one or two. Normally, if I miss someone, though, true.
I thought you were going to say no longer with us. No
longer with us. Well, they may no longer be with us in the sense as patrons, but Chewy's got to go handle his bitch. Over a bitch.
Yes, she is a little bitch.
Yeah.
A little fluffy bitch.
If you enjoy what we do, if you want to support the work that we're doing, patreon.com/Big Hearing News. I know we talk about this a lot, but the reality is, team, we get to plan things in the future based on the patrons. We do merch sales, we do super chats. They're great. We really appreciate all of you guys are getting involved, but we make decisions based on the patrons. After our trip to Auckland, Chewy, and after meeting up with a bunch of our patrons, which is, where's my mouse gone there? Which is there's some photos there, Auckland meetup. I think we've agreed we're definitely going to do a Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin at some stage this year. And looking forward to seeing patrons there and seeing what you guys are about. But also we've started to talk about next year. And we've started to talk about, in fact, have already been invited by someone to come to their centre and maybe host a live podcast, or maybe host a live debate in the election season. And those kinds of decisions, even though we might be talking 12 months from now, are based on the patronage, the patrons we have to think about doing that kind of stuff. So you guys really are the cornerstone of the show and help us drive and think what we're going to be doing moving forward. The other thing, of course, we did mention the merch. The merch is up and running. I haven't really updated very much in the merch of recent times because I'm still sorting out all of our gear at home, which is now sorted out. We're going to be updating it over the weekend. So next week, you'll have a whole bunch of maybe not new merch, but new options. Like, for example, there are people asking for some black T-shirts in some of the styles where they currently don't have the right sizes. So I can be ordering some of that stuff over the weekend and bringing it all to you. All right, Chewy, where should we start? Why don't you pick, Chewy? Where do you want to start?
Me, the person that doesn't plan the shows, that just turns up
and hasn't really listened to me yet, so doesn't really know what's on for the night. Is that right?
I mean, I did see a question in the chat go past as someone saying, "Pardon my ignorance. Who is Chantelle Baker?"
All right, we'll start there.
So let's go with that.
We'll go with Chantelle Baker. So Chantelle Baker actually was quite a high-profile person around the Wellington
Freedom Camp.
The Wellington Freedom Camp. Yeah, there you go, perfect. And at one stage, more people were watching Chantelle Baker's live streams than were watching the mainstream media or listening to radio stations about what's going on. I believe on the day that they got cleared out, am I right in saying she might have had 100,000 people watching her live stream? I think it was something ridiculous like that. And since then has become largely irrelevant. She burned bright, whānau, and then she faded away. She's tried to do a whole bunch of things to kind of leapfrog off the back of that. None of them have really worked. Apparently she's living in Australia now, married with a child, and I'm asking this question, I don't know, but I wonder if, there's just a bit of, trad wife going on. It would fit the brand, certainly, if that was the career right now. Don't know that. She's into defamation, so let's just say don't know that. I'm just wondering out loud to myself. And so I interviewed her for 2 hours, and that's going to be available for you to see in, I don't want you to go anywhere yet, bookmark it, but in 2 minutes that becomes live on the DOC YouTube channel. And Chewy, we should tell the story about what we did. It was 2022, so we were still kind of fairly new at doing this and feeling our way and finding our way. And I ended up speaking with Chantelle Baker, and me and Chewy were like, "Oh, what do you think of this? This is a person that are we going to that whole thing about should we platform this person?" We've changed very much since there, but this was kind of a catalyst for us to learn who we are and how we broadcast, which would be fair to say. And what actually happened was there was a bunch, and you can go back and find this. All these clips are still in the YouTube channel. There was a bunch of people who sit on the left who basically said, "Fuck you and Chewy, you're dead to us because you even spoke to her." And so we were a bit like, well, we should really reassess how we're going to do this. And so we put that up on Patreon, and we pulled out some clips, and we edited and highlighted some clips, but you didn't get the whole thing. To be fair, I would, as we sit here right now, just play the whole thing. Like if that happened today, I'd play the whole thing. And I think, Chewy, you can speak to the fact that we were still building a relationship between you and me then. You didn't really know. I mean, it's fair to say this, whether you could trust me with speaking to these people who may offer contrary opinions. But I think you learned something about me in that experience as well. Maybe you can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you'll see a lot of people talk about whether it's worth platforming someone.
Yeah.
And I am someone that believes that that is a valid criticism, but it can be mitigated. When I think of platforming, say somebody gets, say that you're discussing a topic and here we have two people giving them equal weight, opinion A and counter opinion.
Like
if you
climate
don't do your
change, making climate change look
climate
like it's a 50-50 debate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or a classic example at the moment, say you're like, wow, we really need, say, a Jewish voice to comment on what's going on in Gaza. And we have fallen into this trap as well. Let's get someone from the Jewish Council who seems to be really available. And we won't do any digging past that. That's who they are. And you put someone on here that has a bias or has an axe to grind, or you are giving more weight to that person's opinion that is borne out by facts and evidence. Now, there are two interviews that BHN has done, and they've been led by Pat, that really convinced me. He interviewed a literal neo-Nazi from California, which I was like, I don't know about this.
His surname's Hake. Is it James Hake? If you Google the YouTube page again with Hake, like our page, you'll find it. It's there somewhere.
And that was me and Pat having a very robust discussion of whether we should do this or not, and it's really good. And then the one that got us public flack from people on the left was that we were going to talk to Chantelle Baker. Now, Chantelle is a centerpiece of contrarian influencer behavior.
I thought you were going to say as dumb as a bag of rocks, but no, you weren't. Okay.
Oh, I was going to use bigger words than that.
Honest hell belief, Chantelle. Honest hell belief.
Yeah, she was in the middle of the freedom movement.
Yeah.
Anti-vaxxer, anti-trans, anti-whatever you've got, anti-woke, the whole thing. But she's not a smart person. She's presentable. She's good on camera. She knows surface level the right things to say, but there is nothing behind it. And that, when you go into something like that to go, all right, well, if we give this person more than 30 seconds, more than 5 minutes, maybe we push back on some of the positions that we know that she's taken in the past. What's behind them? And platforming someone like that and showing, hey, fuck, there's nothing behind this curtain. There's nothing at all.
Actually,
I think if you're a good interviewer, it's worth doing.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say as well about Chantelle. In fact, what I will do is, even though it'll be live now somewhere on the page, I will go in there this evening, because what we did do is, when you speak to a conspiracy theorist, they gish gallop. They throw a bunch of information at you, and you can't check it there in the moment. So the stuff that we did broadcast was, we took out some of the claims she made and we tested them, and that was the clips we played on the show. What I will do is, in the description of that video, which is up now, I will go and link to the other ones, because if you just watch that 2 hours, you don't need to watch that 2 hours. Yeah, I'm the sadomasochist here. If you just watch that 2 hours, then you'll just hear her saying some things and you won't hear the rebuttal. Because if you pull out the example in the Philippines of XYZ, okay, and she is so off the mark that we found out that she was misquoting research, and then she was misquoting the wrong research. So she was saying this research says this, which she was wrong about. She was using it as an example to rebut, but she was actually talking about different research. So she was misquoting the misquoted research in the conversation that we had. Now, I didn't know that in the moment, and I guess that's part of the issue to do with platforming people, but because we analysed it afterwards and went back over it, I think that's fine. And I'll go and link those. Anyway, long story short, I think now we've got an element of trust that I don't care about that boat anymore, being back in that boat. I think that gave us a bit of a heads up as to who we are and what we're going to do and what we're about. And actually probably did us a massive favour moving forward. That gave us the ability to kind of go, bless you guys. We support you. Go off in your big flash waka. Do your thing. We'll be in the same part of the harbour as you, but we'll just keep rowing our dinghy and you guys can go off and get the headlines and stuff. So I actually think it was a really positive thing. So one of the things about Chantelle, and you probably have heard about it, Paula Penfold did the documentary Fire and Fury on Stuff about the I'm going to say the occupation, is that the right word? Anyway, the Free Dumb camp. And just came out today that Chantelle Baker has been ordered to pay $100,000 bond ahead of the defamation case against Stuff. Now, I'm going to do a bit of reading here, then I'll play you a little clip, and then we'll move on. So that's Chantelle Baker. A High Court judge has ordered right-wing activist Chantelle Baker to pay a $100,000 bond ahead of a defamation case against Stuff for its disinformation documentary Fire and Fury. Baker claims she was defamed in statements made in the documentary by Stuff and Kate Hanna, the founder and former director of the Disinformation Project, who was interviewed in the documentary. Last year, Stuff filed an application for security and costs. So basically, Stuff saying, if you're going to do this, we need to know you've got the money to do this, because this is going to cost us a lot and it's going to cost you a lot. And we don't want to get to the end of, I'm now paraphrasing, we don't want to get to the end of this and get awarded costs and not be able to get them out of you. So that's what they've done. They filed an application for security of costs. It's basically like a bond in a flat. You want to have a bond. So she's been told to pay $100,000 bond. After alternative news website Centrist announced it was backing Baker in her legal proceedings. Now, you'll know that Centrist is the guy who's just taken a controlling share in NZME, right? Is it Grennan?
Canadian billionaire.
Yeah.
Oil
Security
and gas
for
billionaire.
security for costs is a payment of money made to the court by a plaintiff to ensure they will be able to pay costs to the defendants if they are unsuccessful, which is kind of what I just said. In a recent release judgment, Associate Judge Peter Skelton ordered Baker to pay $20,000 within 20 working days of the judgment to the High Court of Wellington. 2 installments of $40,000 would then be payable following Baker's filing of evidence, and then 2 months before the trial, the judgment said. Overall, while acknowledging the case is at an early stage, my assessment is that Ms. Baker will face difficulties establishing her claims against the defendants, Judge Skelton said. So he's basically saying, yeah, I'm just giving you a heads up, team. This does not already look good for you. Judge Skelton said, and he probably has to say that, I guess, because when they ask for $100,000 up front, he's probably saying, now, are you sure? I'm not making a ruling. I'm not saying it's definitely going this way, but just so you know, you may face difficulties establishing your claims against the defendants. Are you sure you want to put this $100,000 up? Judge Skelton said while he couldn't say Baker's claim was entirely without merit, there was a reasonable likelihood that costs may ultimately be ordered against her. So she's getting fair warning, basically, right? This is more about the case. Stuff admits the documentary and article include the relevant statements, but deny any statements bear the meanings alleged by Ms. Baker, that they were in any way defamatory of Ms. Baker. Hannah also admitted making the relevant statement in the documentary, but denied it was defamatory, the judgment said. Both defendants plead affirmative defenses, including, for example, truth, honest opinion, and responsible communication of matters in the public interest, which is why I often say this is my honest hell belief, honest opinion. Right? I truly believe that she's not very smart. I genuinely believe that. It's not defamatory. I actually genuinely believe that. I remember this is the woman that complained about Maori wards, thinking that they were places in hospitals that only Maori could go to. So there's evidence.
Oh.
There's evidence to that. That's the true story. That's a true story. Daniel Nilsson, acting on behalf of Stuff, told the court Baker's claims were weak and the reporting was accurate. The defendants say that they took reasonable steps to verify all allegations made and ensured that Ms. Baker's perspective was fairly represented by reference to several of her public statements. Stuff accepts that Ms. Baker was not approached for comment, but says it relied on expert views on appropriate reporting on disseminators of mis- and disinformation. Stuff says that it explained its editorial choices in the article to ensure that viewers had all information needed to form their own views on the reporting. Baker's position was that there was a clear case for Stuff and Hannah to answer and that there was public interest in the proceedings. Given she claimed to have been defamed by a professional researcher and mainstream media entity, the judgment said. Final bit. And this is from an interview with Sean Plunkett, because this is in relation to Chantelle Baker's defamation. Stuff told the court after the proceedings were filed that Baker had made a number of statements on her social media channels and in interviews suggesting she was reliant on non-party funding. She said centrists are really helpful with funding lawsuits for a number of different people, and so they are helping to bring. That was an interesting stop, isn't it? So they are bringing. They are helping to bring this lawsuit through because they believe that what Stuff did was incredibly wrong. But in an affidavit to the court, Baker denied Stuff's assessment of her ability to pay costs. She went on to say no arrangement with her supporters that allows them to control her claim, and she would continue with legal proceedings even if they decided to stop supporting her. I think that's about it. We kind of got to the end of it. Now, this is the 2-hour conversation on a different channel. You can probably go right now to our channel, and it will be there. It will be there. I've got the volume down. I have got the volume down. So if I go like that, and if I go into the page, and there it is. Right there. So it is now loaded, and it has 8 views. Look at that. I have been contacted by numerous people to get access to this. I don't know what lawsuit they're talking about, but there is some lawsuit somewhere that's using information from my conversation with her to disprove some of the things she's saying in court. Like I said, I don't know whether that's the Stuff documentary, nothing like that, but lawyers have gone over this interview to find information that Chantelle said to disprove stuff she's saying in court. That's as I understand it. And I wanted to play you a little bit because this is one of the, I don't think this is for Stuff. I don't actually know because the lawyer was unable to, disclose their client. But something about, are you a journalist? And I think one of the claims somewhere is she's claiming to be a journalist, and that kind of goes counter to a conversation she had with me. Do you, and this is not a loaded question because I don't consider myself one. Do you consider yourself a journalist?
No, I don't.
Do you call yourself a journalist?
People call me that. I don't think I've ever called myself that. I'd say that I do more reporting work. I mean, people have called me like a citizen journalist, and I guess you could probably say that when I do specific work. But I think also the work that we do is very varied. So we go from one end, which is more journalism and investigative, where we do our OIA bits, and then my live streams, where it's my opinion to camera, I wouldn't call that journalism. And so it really just depends what we're doing on the day, if it would even fall within what you would call journalism or not. And then what we're looking to do in the future is different yet again. So I would say I'm in the media. Would I say that I'm, some specific type of journalist? No, but we do have investigative journalists that we're bringing on now.
Yeah. So I like I said, I'm actually ignorant to what that's going to be used for, but apparently there's some case out there somewhere where she's claiming to be a journalist, and they wanted that footage to have her say, no, she's not a journalist. And news articles have been written using this. I've had people from the Herald wanting to watch it so they could use it. And I thought, the only reason we didn't play it back then was probably we were still learning our way. But I think we know our place now. It's 2 years old. It might mean nothing to anybody, or it might just be an interesting look into a conversation between a dumb Irishman and a conspiracy theorist, which are my favorite kind of conversations, Chewy. So that's a lot from me, Chewy, about this. Do you have anything you want to pick up on or share or talk about to do with that?
I giggled like a madman when I saw this story on the news this morning. It's like just a collision of amazing things. Chantelle is a chaos machine, and she's on her way to an absolute hiding. Like
Maybe
Paula Penfold versus Chantelle Baker is an unfair matchup. And to think that Stuff would go, oh yeah, we'll go into a defamation court case that we might lose. No, it's not going to happen. The fact that she's having to be bankrolled by an overseas millionaire who apparently billionaire, who has his designs on the New Zealand media market. He's behind the centrist website, which is the most egregious thing ever, to call your website the centrist when it is hard right.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech, freedom for our speech, not for your speech. And that's who she's hitched her wagon to. It's so predictable.
I was going to say as well, people like Chantelle, and we do sometimes as well, rag on the mainstream media, right? Because they do things, we don't like necessarily some of the things they're doing. However, the thing about the mainstream media having money is what they would have done with that documentary is run it through all their lawyers first. So that documentary would have been run through their lawyers, would have been picked over. I'm not saying I know what the result's going to be, but yeah. And this is who Chantelle still is, right? And I'll play you just the first 10 seconds. This is a clip from her Twitter feed in the last couple of days.
Jacinda Ardern blatantly lied to Oprah this week, and I've got the proof. Have a look.
And then goes and talks about the proof. And she writes things like, Jacinda Ardern led the most fear-fueled campaign across the Western Hemisphere. So I was thinking she's never heard of this dude called Hitler. This is what these people do. This person who saved 20,000 New Zealand lives, countless numbers of businesses, and kept us safer than most places in the world. They're the worst person in the history of the world. It's like, I get it that some people are misinformed and have been led down a rabbit hole and it's hard to get them out. But she had influence over a group of people when those things were happening in our country. Those things aren't happening in our country anymore. It's like when you listen to, and I haven't done it for months, but I used to occasionally tune into reality, check radio, and everything was still vaccines, mandates, it was still all of that stuff. It hadn't gone anywhere. And it's and I'm not suggesting that if something's wrong, you just give up when it's in the rear vision mirror. But it's when you think something's wrong that's not, and you're still beating that horse 3 to 4 years later, and you're wrong, so it's never going to go anywhere. So that's who she is, and that's what she and her followers are about.
It's key throughout that movement as well, and it was mentioned and it was studied that the COVID thing, the anti-vaccine thing, the lockdown thing, coalesced so many disparate groups, and made links between those groups and those peoples, and created an entire alternative information ecosphere. There'll be people studying that for years. But one of the things that came out of it, I remember reading in a study about it, that it would struggle to maintain itself unless it found something new. And that's why I say it's contrarian. And it was going to be, these groups were going to latch on to being on Russia's side when it came to the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
Chantelle went to Ukraine and almost got, I think she did get booted out of the country by the security services over there because she was running around like a mad woman in Odessa. Or it was going to be the trans movement, or some sort of pedophile thing. You can see all of those things, and they just haven't fired as much as COVID did, for obvious reasons. It's not global. It's what's happening in Ukraine or what's happening in Gaza is not really affecting us here. So it doesn't have the same punch for them. It doesn't give these people, these grifters, the people that have been scamming people out of donations, it hasn't got the same gas. And so they're always struggling to find the next thing. And this is why we haven't heard from Chantelle for a while.
Yeah, I've just looked up about Māori wards. She totally said that.
Yeah.
Also, somewhat infamous was Baker's video monologue claiming the government allowed special rules for Māori and had created the Māori wards. So now people who are going to be treated differently based on the colour of their skin when they go to the hospital. Later on Twitter, Baker said she had misspoken. Yeah, right, you were just wrong. It's not a misspeak. And had meant to refer to the Māori Health Authority rather than physical hospital wards. No, it's not a bad spin, but I mean, it's bullshit. It's not a bad little spin though. There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
The other, actually, I just see it click through in the chat there as well. Remember when she was trying to deliver water to the East Coast during the big storm and that sort of thing, was scamming for donations to do that, and to take a couple of trays of bottled water in a private helicopter for just essentially a photo op, because she was amplifying chat that thousands of people had died in that storm, and that there were bodies lying out in the open, and there were armed gangs of looters just murdering people in their farmhouses. Of course, none of it true.
Yeah.
So yeah, got a lot of time for Chantelle. She's a real diamond.
I look. I've always said of people who have been pulled into that, down that rabbit hole, to use a phrase, I have nothing but empathy for the people. I have nothing but disdain for the people at the top. I think they were described as the disinformation dozen in New Zealand, 12 people who were responsible for something like 90% of the disinformation that was going around about things, and she was one of them. So what she said was dangerous. I mean, like, I again, maybe because she's litigious, but I guess I could say this. I feel confident saying this, actually. Probably what she said led to some people dying, probably. Because if she was convincing people of the dangers of vaccines, and then someone died from COVID who may not have, because of without the vaccine, there's at least a tangible connected possibility. Let me put it that way, to take a half step back. And it's like, there's those stories were around all the time. And look, to be fair, this is what it feels like, Chewy. Like in America at the moment, they're going, the right wing is still going off on the issue around trans people, especially trans women, right? And what they've done, and probably quite successfully, meaning it's working, not it's good, is they've managed to label the left as the people who are, over the top with their trans ideologies. I don't know the last time we've done a story on a quote unquote trans issue. We don't really talk about it. It's just life. But the right are the ones who constantly talk about it. Kamala Harris didn't talk about it once. Donald Trump, all he did was talk about how Kamala Harris is for they, them, and I'm for you. And the right's quite good at painting the left with this brush and convincing their voters this is what they're about. She's quite good, Chantelle, the connection would be, she would have been quite good at talking about, this is what these guys think and feel. And it's like, well, I don't know anyone who thinks and feels that way, but they convince their audience. I mean, I don't know if Chantel's on that, but in general, they convince their audience of what the other side says, does, or feel. And it's dangerous when the other side may not think that. It's the right who are the ones who are constantly talking about trans people, like constantly. But the way they're talking about it is the left will never let this go. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and this is something that, like, we've spoken about trans issues a fair bit, but nowhere near to the degree that these right wingers do.
No,
and it's nowhere near targeted at individuals and people trying to live their life. So whenever someone like people like us get involved, it's because something has prodded through more mainstream. Like, I've got mutuals on Blue Sky that are trans, and they mention the fixation that these people have on their existence down to the individual.
Yeah, exist. The fixation.
It is a fixation. Like, and it comes through with all of these things. Like why are you still talking about Jacinda? Like,
the fixation on Jacinda.
She's got you won that. You drove her away to another country because of how off the chain you are, and you're still hammering it.
Yeah.
And it's you can't find it. Everybody else has moved on. Like the vast majority of people, even if, like, I was talking to someone the other day, being in the South Island, my lockdown experience was fine. Contrasting that with someone that had the Auckland lockdown experience is very, very different. But someone could go, I hated that second lockdown. I think it went on too long, versus someone going, I hated the lockdown. Jacinda Ardern is a traitor and deserves to be hung.
Nuremberg 2.0.
You're not making the same argument. But yeah, here these people are banging that same drum, that very same drum, years later.
Yeah. All right. That's enough. That's our yearly catch up with Chantelle Baker. Maybe we should have her back on one day. There's not to reason why. It just says, thanks, fellas. In fact, says it technically twice. Thank you for that. JC says, speaking of merch, new hoodies are different, not worse, just different. I have a bottom feeder and an OBBHN. New fuck around is lighter material and loose fit. Will be better for warmer days as the other ones are very thick. Oh, interesting. We can actually have different styles hoodies as well. The guys Cloak we work with have quite a big we've always ordered the same one, but we can get different ones as well. So maybe I should have a look at that. Thank you for that. Alex says, just wanted to say something about the mandatory reviews from the Social Security Mandatory Reviews Amendment Bill that is going to cause stress for people on the supported living payment with the reviews at 52 weeks. Didn't know much about that, but thank you. We will bookmark that away. What am I doing? There we go. And keep an eye on it as well.
Yeah, so that's just part and parcel with a lot of the other targeted policies that this government's come out to save money, which is just aimed at people on the breadline, on the subsistence, on the benefit that they now have to upend their lives and come in to prove that they're still in that situation. And God help you if you don't.
It sounds like it's the way, like they've figured out how to crack down on 18 and 19-year-olds, which is live with mum, fuck you guys, how they're cracking down on job seekers by making them do all these other things. But of course, supported living was always sort of off on the side. Basically, it's a new version of what they used to call the sickness benefit. And now, I guess what you're saying, Chewie, is they're going to start going, are you really still sick? To make sure to see if they can kick more people off. That might sound a bit pessimistic to say that, but I can't think of another way to do it than just to figure out how they can kick people off.
Every time they've done something like that, you get these horrible, horrible examples of someone having their benefit cut off and is summoned into their local office to find out that they still have Parkinson's or they're still confined to a wheelchair. They're miraculously able to work a 40-hour week now. It's just crazy.
Nick says, whoops, time. It was probably an inappropriate time to put up whoops when we had that serious conversation going on, but there you go. Arvid says, Māori wards being hospital wards sounds like a 7 days joke. Holy shit, that's so funny. Yeah.
And however she's trying to walk that back, she believed it.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
For sure. Kaimatara. Nats suck at crime on purpose. Property crime boosts GDP, 100 million per unit, rise per 100,000 people. Damage drives consumer spending to fix and flattens the books. There you go. That's a good bit of analysis, isn't it? Arvid says, was she the one who jumped on a car or got jumped on? Yes, she was the one whose car got jumped on, which made a lot of international news and national news. It went all over the Lad Bible Facebook page. I don't know if anything ever came of it, but for the moment it was pretty big news. Just a gentle comment, repeated Ms. Baker doesn't sit well with old tranny. My attitude on misusing names is well known on Blue Sky, other than the niggle love your shows guys. But she was referred to as Ms. Baker. What have I done? I'm a bit lost with that. Because in the story she was referred to as Ms. Baker. Is it saying Ms. but making the S a bit longer? Is that what I've done wrong? Oh, okay. Apologies. Gareth, well worth rewatching Pat's interview, Massacre of James Hake. Have popcorn ready. Yeah, I remember, Chewie, that was one of the... We were still getting to know each other. It
was very early days.
Looking across a crowded room at each other and sort of looking away and waving and winking. And you didn't really know me then. And then you watched it, and I think you went something like, holy shit. And then we played it. Yeah. Because that's what we did.
It purely, as I was saying at the top of the show, it's purely because the idea of what we were doing here, like long form news and commentary, you don't see that anywhere else. So like even with people that are being good actors, because they don't have the time to show their viewers who this person is at times, or that person is very good at concealing who they are. My thoughts at that point were never platform them ever. But only a Sith deals in absolutes, so I've moderated.
Josh just says late fee. There you go. Oh, and one just came through right then. It's in the ballot. Supported living payments is the former invalid benefit. Sickness benefit becomes job seekers with medical exemptions. Okay. AKA the dole for sick people. All right, there we go. All cleared up from the smart people in the chat, not the dumb people hosting the show. Speaking of dumb people, let's see how Nikki Noboat's plan's going, eh? Because,
Not a good morning.
it's all sweet as, we're gonna get these new ferries, we're gonna spend this much money. Where have you ordered them from? We haven't ordered them yet. They're gonna be here in 2029. Have you got them booked in? We haven't got them booked in yet. What are you gonna do about these ships breaking down? They'll be fine. Really? Let's check that out.
Hanging by a thread, that's the Maritime Union.
That doesn't sound good.
A vital Cook Strait transport link. The ferry Aratere, due to leave service in August, breaking down again last night and out of operation today. And it's not smooth sailing for the rest of the fleet either. Another ship undergoing repairs. James Fleury has the latest.
The Aratere parked up in Wellington after...
Remind me, Chewy, because we've been talking about this for over a year. Were the original IREXs due this year, the end of this year, or was it next year?
Yeah,
End of
the
this
end
year,
of this
right?
year.
So this is the thing, right? People are going to start to say, like, trying to defend these guys, going, the ferries wouldn't have been here yet anyway. No, you're right. But limping a ferry for 6 months, or having something that is an inconvenience, like 1/3 of your ferry capacity down for 6 months, is very different than for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's 4 years if you're lucky. 4 years if you're lucky, because we've got no guarantees they're going to be here in 2029. So that's the situation.
Yeah. I think with a project like that, I would have expected that maybe there would be some delays, because of course it's a big project, right? There's always delays. And just because the ship has arrived doesn't mean it's gone into service. But we were supposed to get the first of the IREX ferries. That was the timeline before it was cancelled. This year, basically the later half of this year.
Right.
So,
all right, here we go.
after breaking down last night.
They just left port and one of the frequency converters tripped. The Aratere has 4 of those, and normally they reset, but this one didn't.
The issue fixed at around 1 a.m, with the ferry finally arriving in the capital shortly before 5 this morning.
We've flown down a technician from the original equipment manufacturer. He'll be here later today, and we'll work with him to make sure we know what's...
Where did he fly down from? Notice I didn't say that. What if the original producer was like Singapore or... So this is the other thing to think about. Yes, those IREX ferries were going to cost $3 billion for all of the cost, including the wharves and stuff. However, this government now has to add in, and I'm being a bit pedantic, but the cost of that guy coming to fix it. That should be included. All the things they have to do to these ferries to keep them going with sticky take and blue tack until 2029, all those costs needed to be added on top of the cost it's going to be for the new ferries. And I'll eat my hat if it's less than $3 billion.
Yeah.
We've said this since day one. We've said this. She talked about a second-hand Corolla, even though the market had no second-hand Corollas that would work on those roads, quote-unquote roads. So we always knew it was going to be new. And from day one, we said, yes, you will now get a second-hand Corolla or lesser quality vehicle, but you'll be paying more than the price of the Ferrari. I'd almost put any amount of money on that. Almost. Don't call me on this, because they're all like my children. They're like my children, MLB. I don't know which one I'd have to eat, but they're like my children. It'll be tough. Be a tough one. We'll keep going
on.
Not yet certain when it will be back in action, freight shifted to the Kaiarahi, which has also had to be recently repaired, having its bow doors welded shut after taking damage in rough seas.
Apparently it was
the
a
front
big
fell
wave
off.
that hit the gate.
That's exactly what I thought of when I heard it, but I thought I probably can't pay. That'll get us
Oh,
kicked.
is that normal? Well, not normally.
What? A wave hit it? Oh, never likely a wave. In the ocean? No.
One of the best
Docking bay
bits.
and knocked the ramp out of shape. So to get it seaworthy again, they had to strap it down and weld it.
All this as the third ferry, the Kaitaki, is being pulled from service this weekend.
That is an annual audit that's pre-planned months ago. That's part of the deep rig.
Think about that, though. That's all 3. We could have a moment coming up where there are no ferries, no inter-islanders going between the islands. Zero.
Regulatory framework that we operate in to make sure we're reliable and safe.
The Maritime Union says the vital transport link is hanging by a thread.
We could be left with no vessels working the strait on this key piece of infrastructure if something happens, and with the history, something likely is to happen.
The union wants the government to rethink its approach, claiming the cancellation of the IREX project 18 months ago has created the perfect storm.
Take some responsibility, own up to what you have done, and put some money back into the ferries until we get the new ones here in 3 or 4 years' time.
Rail Minister Winston Peters told One
3 or 4 or 6 or... I was just thinking, wouldn't it be the most gangster move ever if someone from Labour had contacted Hyundai and gone, dudes, just keep it on boil. We'll win next time round, and we'll order them straight away. And then the campaign from Labour was, hey guys, if we get back in, Hyundai's back on board. Whoop, won. You've won. Just like that, you've won.
news that he stands by the decision to cancel the IREX.
Of course he
ferry.
does.
And the new, yet to be revealed vessels are set to begin services in 2029. KiwiRail confident there's enough funding to keep the ferries running until then.
We've totally revamped our maintenance in the last 18 months. We've been running at over 99% reliability for the last 12 months.
But with these ferries increasingly showing their age, maintaining that record could become more challenging. James Fleury, One News.
So the thing is as well, I mean, like, for example, let's say 2 of the ferries are down and then they put the 3rd one in for a service. If you're only 6 months away from getting your brand new ferries, you're more likely to go, well, this is due a service, but let's just put it off by a week. We'll keep going with that one. Then,
Which is what was happening.
Yeah.
That was the thing, is that they were deferring maintenance because they knew they had new ferries on the way.
Yeah.
We used to be a country, man. It used to be a real country.
Big boy countries.
This is just laughable. It's easy to lash National for this. It's easy to lash Nikki No Boats for this, because I certainly did this morning when I saw that story. But Labour's been very quiet today. Like, this is something that should have been every Labour MP calling every media outlet they know and going, I want to talk about something that about the ferries. This is such a gimme for them, and I can't believe it's been left on the table today. Like, it should have been a full court press.
Well, they're not in the
like,
House, eh?
This, I don't know. I haven't put trackers on them yet. But yeah, it seems to be they had the story there. This was a great opportunity to say, hey, look, this is the party of sensible spending. This is the party of infrastructure. They cancelled this project for ideological reasons with no backup in place. They lied to you when they said that there were second-hand Corollas out there. They lied to you. And they should ride that all the way to election day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree, Chewy. Yeah, which makes you kind of go, why haven't they? Maybe there's something that's coming tomorrow.
And there are comments in the chat that are saying Chippy said something like that. I'm not just talking about saying something. I am talking about our major opposition party who want to lead the country, I assume, seeing weakness and punishing it. This is a black and white issue of, they say they're good at this. We are good at this.
Yeah,
we're good at the infrastructure stuff.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen it, and maybe it's because they're not in the House. I don't know.
Vanda Amour, ferries haven't been ordered yet. Yeah, which is hilarious when they say we're gonna spend this much and it's gonna be here on this day. Oh yeah, where's the quote from? Haven't got one yet. When's the order been put in? Hasn't been put in yet. So, but definitely 2029. Good one. JC, I'm just worried that the ferry issue will be in the headlines around October next year. That will be such a shame. So I read that right. It was sarcasm because we could have had a word not in there. Just keep welding. She'll be all right. Arvid's a $5 for that joke. So good, Chewy. Class jokes tonight. I'm not sure which joke that was, but there you go.
The front fell off.
Oh, that's such a funny. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. Clip. I'm guessing no boats consults with ferries.
Hey, that's a little bit of wordplay there. That's good.
Shayad, thank you for your super chat. I'm trying to back up to Chantelle here, but we definitely have a Māori ward here in Tauranga Hospital.
Really?
Only Māori are allowed to go into it. Kai Arahi, due to go to Singapore for 6+ months in July. Aratiri screwed and Kaitaki struggling. Not looking good. Yeah, that's a tough one. We're going to go with Whetu Marama. What does it say? IIJM? Or is it Chippy? What's IIJM? LLJM? Or is it Chippy pulling a Biden by staying in the race too long? How likely is it for him to lead the Labour Party into government next year? Yeah, Whetu, I think that's a really interesting question, because we were obviously pretty vocal in our thoughts around, we think maybe Kieran's the guy to do it. But when Kieran comes out and he says, I don't want it, and you guys, not us, but general internet, need to stop talking about it because it's making us look weak, and we're not going to be doing that. But so we kind of go, okay. But then also, I was listening to someone the other day, or maybe I was reading it, or maybe I smelt it or smoked it or dreamt it, saying that Chippy is still going to, whether we like it or not, we've just talked about Jacinda tonight, whether we like it or not, there is a voting section in New Zealand who think that she is the devil. And Chippy has some of that juice on him still from that time. So will he be the best one to go into the next election? Does it matter? Because they're never going to vote for the left anyway, those people. Or would it be better to have a completely fresh start? I'm kind of torn on that. I'm still sort of Chewy, I don't know where you are, but I'm still sort of sitting with, I think Kieran's the guy. But someone also mentioned Bob Edmonds the other day. And I'm like, that's a really interesting thought as well.
Well, let's take stock. This is where I sit. I like Chippy. I do. He's been on the show. He's been very likable. I've had criticisms of strategy and that sort of thing. And last time we had him on, he was very convincing about why he does pull for the centre. I don't agree with that, but I understand his reasonings. We've asked him directly, where do we see Bulldog Chippy? When does that come out? When do we see the fight in the dog? And his answer was, I leave that to my front bench. I have to be palatable to people that vote either way. Again, understand the reasoning. Disagree with it. Understand it.
Well, hang on. Let me jump in. I don't mean to sound really arrogant, but I don't think you disagree with it. Because you don't disagree with that's what he needs to do for him. You disagree with it because that's not what you think should be done. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, okay. So because I do think someone does need to find the centre. I think there needs to be someone reaching to the centre. So I agree that someone needs to do it within Labour. No, because we can't. You got to win the centre as well. I've said this the whole time, Chewy. It's Labour's job to get the centre left and to drag some of those centre right ones back over. That's their job. Yeah. It's the left. It's the Greens' job to activate the far left. The far left are the ones who do not vote. They are the ones who sit on their hands. They are the anarchists and the Marxists, and they don't want to be involved in the system. That's the Greens' job. The Māori, Te Pāti Māori's job is to keep being Te Pāti Māori and activate their base, and that's how you get a left bloc. So someone has to pitch to the centre in this whole worldwide thing. I know I don't want to do that, and you don't want to do that, and we don't align with the politician who's going to do that, but someone's got to.
But that's what we get when we get the election run, and we just have man in a red tie saying we need to be tough on crime, and then man in a blue tie saying we need to be tough on crime. You just had the same fucking talking heads saying the same things, slightly different flavour.
Yeah. So this is what we have to tell,
and it's punched down on the poor.
This is what we have to tell Chippy, right? We have to tell Chippy, and we have told Barb to tell Chippy this. We have to tell Chippy that if we read a headline tomorrow morning and we don't know whether Luxon or Chippy said it, that's a problem. That's what Chippy has to understand. Yep. And he did that with the Greens. He did that with the Greens about their budget. The thing he said was unrealistic or something. You didn't know where that could have come from Luxon. And if the words could have come from Luxon, that you've gone too far. Come back to the
last couple of days, Chippy has been sniping at Te Pāti Māori again.
Mm.
And I don't, is it because he's scared that the guys in the middle are going to be scared of what Te Pāti Māori's doing? Like, why would you, your whole job should be whenever a camera is pointed in front of you, whenever a microphone is in front of you, and they've asked you a question, it's not to say the Greens are unrealistic. It's not to say that Te Pāti Māori are doing a song and a dance. It's to point at the government and say these guys are taking axes and chainsaws to pillars that hold up this country, that they are fleecing the poor, the middle workers, because they don't want to touch the guys at the top. That is the message. That is the message that should be coming. And it's consistently coming from Te Pāti Māori. And it's consistently coming from the Greens. And it's consistently coming from his fucking front bench, which is stacked with bulldogs.
Yeah.
It's got Kieran and Barbs and so many more. And it's like, well, if you don't want to be the bulldog, get the fuck out of their way. Because I see so many people, and yes, it might be political tragics like us that are very much on the left that are going, we want Labour to come more left, focus on your core business, which is to be a workers' party.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want. I don't want to hear Chippy talking about law and order, because he will always lose that fight. Because he's lost the branding on that. Labour's never had it. Rightly or wrongly, National Act, New Zealand First, own the law and order space. So don't
they own
they
own the punitive law and order space.
Yeah.
Which is the law and order space that people respond to.
Non-evidence based.
Yeah.
Law and order based on vibes. But there is always this consistent background hum of, is Chippy inspiring? Now, that's our point of view. The people that are fucking soaked up to their eyebrows in politics. The poll that came out today, Chippy is just 1 point behind on preferred Prime Minister. So this is the thing. Do the people that like the taste of fresh blood in their politics want him gone? But the people that are getting surveyed, the people that are not as plugged into politics as we are, they might see that he seems a safe pair of hands and he's more likable, he's more authentic, because he's actually human, than Luxon. Now, I think when it comes to the election, Luxon's complete lack of authenticity, the way he speaks, his arrogance and the arrogance of his partners, his other leaders, will cost him the election. Now, I could be wrong. I am Nostradamus, as I've said. But this is the problem when we are so ingrained in politics, is sometimes we're reading tea leaves that people will never, ever see.
Yeah. And look, it's funny in the chat, people are saying, yes, Chippy needs to get the centre. They're saying, yes, I agree with Pat. Yes, I agree with Chippy. I think the reality is, I actually don't think any of us would really disagree. There might be the one outlier. But because the reality is, for a left coalition to win, Labour needs to be in that centrist area for some people. Yes, someone said, and I've already put it up, it's wishy-washy. I agree. Like all these things, it's not where I want to vote. I agree. Like I don't want Chippy to be saying things that Luxon could say. I agree. But I also understand that the reality is there are going to be some people who are sitting in the centre out there, probably no one right here right now, to be fair, who we need to vote for a party that's going to then enable a left bloc to be in. It's not me actually putting my stamp of approval on Labour looking for the centrist vote. It's not me putting my stamp of approval on Labour going to the centre. It's me actually going, if Labour and the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are going to form a government, this has to happen. We have to get a section of that centrist voter into Labour to let the rest get through. I mean, I kind of think that's inarguable, that has to happen.
I saw a clip not long before we went to air, and I don't know what show it was, and I don't know what woman was talking about it. I should have immediately got that information. But her view, her dream for MMP, because you notice that there's been a couple of articles lately of maybe MMP's not fit for purpose because parties are ruling out each other.
I was actually going to,
nonsense.
I was going to play it today. RNZ, maybe if the guys tomorrow night want to grab it, RNZ did a panel with Wallace today. It's like a 5-minute chunk of them talking about, is MMP still fit for purpose?
And one of the commentators was like, what I would like when you talk about negotiations between parties, that there's been such a focus on, like, we want to be seen as an effective government, so we've got to lock down this negotiation process as quick as possible. The country won't stand for going back to the polls. And her view was like, maybe a party needs to throw the country back to the polls, because A, that would really put the shits up your electorate and get them to take MMP seriously, and B, it would mean that if you were the dominant negotiating partner and you didn't want to compromise on your platform or where you want to take things, what better way to do that? And I think the example that we have with this government is that they ran through the negotiations so quickly, and we've seen the quality of the negotiation, the quality of the negotiation red lines for different parties has come through. Maybe we do need a shock to the system. Like, maybe. I like MMP. I don't want to see it go.
We'll go into that story now, Shay. And I'm assuming this isn't actually the Labour Party of New Zealand, which is fine. But if it is, you have no idea how much the Labour Party needs our advice. And not just our advice, like us two rodeo clowns, but the people who sit in the sphere that we're sitting in or voting. You have no idea how much the Labour Party needs to listen to people like us who have been screaming capital gains tax for years. So actually, if this is the Labour Party, which I doubt it is, my dudes, you're wrong. And if it's not the Labour Party, I like your logany type stuff. And it's not us, like as in they need our advice, me and Chewy, but it's people sitting where we're sitting. It's people who are who are in this are in the left space that you're not, screaming, do you understand how progressive values and progressive policies rate really well? You do need that help, Labour Party, and we're here for it, aren't we, Chewy? Should we play this piece now? I haven't seen it yet, but let's let it shine. Oh, I'm just going to turn this off a bit. Yeah, can you go up? There we go. I haven't seen. I was going to just actually use a Stuff story, but then I can see that Stuff's done it, or Three's done a piece on it. So let's see what they've got to say.
A new poll has found that if an election was held today, Labour would become the biggest party in Parliament. The result of the Taxpayers Union Curia poll dropped while Prime Minister Christopher Luxon was in his element at field days in the Waikato, among farmers who overwhelmingly support.
Look, he might have been amongst his voters, but he was certainly not in his fucking element. This man who lives in East Auckland, who spent time working as a board member in Canada, this is not his element. Yes, it might be his voters, but come on, let's just be fair. This is not his element. He's probably got a brand new pair of red bands because he only wears them once every 3 years when he goes to field days to get people's vote, probably. Anyway.
That's what I was going to say, is like, if ever, cameramen that listen to the show,
pan down.
Pan down. Absolutely. I want to see those gummies.
Yep. With the price tag still on them, out the back.
Pristine they are.
Yeah. All right.
The coalition. And the government wants the focus to instead be on a new primary sector report showing export revenue is on track to surpass $60 billion for the first time. Political correspondent Zane Small is at field days.
Grey skies, but great vibes.
So just echoing that point,
Field
Chewy.
days.
Look at the gumboots. So those are some used footwear, you know? Those are some worn-in gumboots.
Grey skies, but great vibes at Field Days, the Southern Hemisphere's largest agricultural event.
I think it's cool. We got a bunch of free stuff.
Have any ambition to be a farmer or work in agriculture?
Yeah, my brother's hired out like farmers.
Hard out, bro.
I'll work on a farm one day.
Vibe's good. Farmers certainly got a few more dollars in their pocket from increased returns.
And walking around here, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the economic downturn was over because the primary sector is booming right now. A new government report shows that export revenue is set to surpass $60 billion for the first time. So how much credit can the government take for that?
A tremendous credit. I mean, we've created the conditions for growth.
The government points to policies such as Investment Boost that offers businesses a 20% tax deduction on new assets. For farmers, that could be a new tractor.
Every stall I've gone to has talked about that being one of the things that's tipping people into making a purchase decision now that makes their farms more efficient.
I think the government is trying to make sure that some of the barriers that are there in the primary sector are taken down.
What the hell's he doing there?
He's an infometrics economist, which is an artisanal crop.
I thought he might be there testing all the pies. That's just me, though.
So although we've got better results at the moment, the focus I think going forward is how do we continue to grow those and make them even stronger.
New Zealand's strong export performance is good news for New Zealand's rural economy. The government can't...
There's a Swanee in the background there. At least there's a Swanee, you know. He's got this. Oh, look. That looks like your boy.
There he is.
There he is. He's sniping in the back. He's got his scope up.
He's probably wearing a paint spattered hoodie and 15-year-old red bands covered in shit.
Can't take any credit for that. If you look at the things that are driving that, it's better access to markets. Actually, the free trade agreement signed by Labor.
It's funny because it's what Kieran said. There's a literal symbol of him watching Chippy's back. Like it's the literal embodiment of what Kieran says he's about at the moment.
Including the UK and the EU free trade agreements.
The downside to higher export prices can be higher consumer prices.
New Zealand is an exporter of about 90% of what we produce. So essentially the New Zealand consumer has to be paying export prices.
But it's positive for farmers.
Why?
And field days is clearly Nationals' turf.
Because they can get that money elsewhere, so why would they let Kiwis have it any cheaper? Oh, because a bunch of the tax and stuff that we pay goes back into your business as your write-offs and that kind of stuff. We actually help pay for these things in our tax. Maybe you can give us a better this is a small tangent. I had this conversation online today. I put up the thing about it wasn't actually about the Mowbrays, but I was like, if you've got, just so people have an understanding, if you've got $20 million, we did it last night, $20 billion, you could spend $1 million a day and earn no more money and still have money in 54 years from now. You'd still have money spending $1 million a day. And I completely forgot why I started this story. I was trying to baffle on there about what I was talking about. What was I talking about, Chewy? Sheesh.
I have no idea. But what I would like to point out for this whole story is that they've been talking about how good it's been for farmers. That
I know. I remember. I got
it, and they're making more money.
I got it back.
And then in the same breath, saying, "Sorry, New Zealand, you had to play the tip-top export dollars," with no justification on why New Zealanders have to do that.
I got it back because I was going to talk about in this clip I was talking. Everyone was talking about self-made men and you started from the ground up. So there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. There's no such thing as someone who started at the bottom and worked their way with no influence. The roads you drive on, the hospitals you use, the schools you went to, all of these things were a part of the success that you've got as a billionaire in New Zealand today. All of them. So when we talk about paying your fair share, we're just talking about paying for the things that you have benefited from. You haven't actually just done this all on your own because you're a product of your community and your society. And now all we're saying is help the rest of us. So farmers, for example, that 20% you're getting to write off, that's actually thanks to the rest of us because it's coming out of the tax pool that we all contribute to. So it's like, this is not a you guys on your own succeeding. It's all of us helping you succeed, and we're just looking for a little bit of you to bring that back. That's more speaking to the billionaires and the farmers. But it was speaking to Chewy, why can't it be different prices in New Zealand? Because we've helped them make the product on the money that they've used from the tax pool that we all pitch to sell those international prices. So maybe there should be a New Zealand price. Maybe. Anyway, long-winded. Yeah. Got there.
Well, they say that we export 90%. So why isn't there a carve out for 10% of our export things that have to be sold at New Zealand at a cheaper price? They still get to make the majority of the money. It's just clipping the ticket for the people that live in the country, that they're using the rivers and the land and that sort of thing. Farmers are massively important, but they are they're a minority of the voting base that get an enormous amount of power. And then an even tinier minority of those people are really militantly anti-Labour. So
I think that interview we did with Te Pāti Māori 2 weeks ago, where they got a chance to say finally, and I was thinking about this when I was looking through my Twitter feed today about the people kind of having a go about this, the stat I put up about $20 billion. It's like, you guys don't understand that Te Pāti Māori's policies are fighting for people who are vulnerable or who have been trodden on by big business, by government, by international ventures. And that's you guys who right now are slamming me for talking about tax. You don't get that. And I think that interview was quite important to a lot of people. I've heard from dozens of people about how they'd never heard it described like that. And several people saying I'd consider voting Te Pāti Māori now based on what they were saying. And this is the same sort of thing. It's like, how do you get across this? And you always say it, Chewy, do you earn over $250,000? No? Well, this is not going to impact you. I think those things are going to be really important moving forward. I asked Grok, actually, I done it the first time I've ever done it. I asked Grok when New Zealand was most, because I thought, I know what Grok's going to say. And I thought I'd use Grok, and I asked Grok, when was New Zealand, richest? And it was 1970 to 1973 when the top tax rate was 66%. So I just put that out there and I said, we all know Grok's a bit woke, but why don't we just start there? If we start there, well, maybe we can regain some of that wealth. And then all these people who obviously aren't the top tier of wealth or aren't the billionaires are all carrying water for them. It's a strange thing about the people who vote against their own self-interest. What, because you think you're going to be a billionaire one day? You're not. You're not. And actually the billionaire could help make your life a ton easier and better just by simply paying their fair share in tax. So anyway, should we get to the end of this?
Yep.
Let's go.
A recent Federated Farmers poll showed 54% for the party among farmers and just 3% for Labour.
What do you think Labour's doing wrong to attract this vote?
I think they really screwed up with farmers in the last government.
How? How? What did they do that screwed up for the farmers? Like all those subsidies and stuff that they paid through COVID to help you guys stay alive. How did they screw up? That's what we want to know. We're going to say something.
Thing. I think a lot of this attitude towards Labour is almost generational.
Yes.
Like
why do you vote
There's
that
a
way?
scar there from the removal of a huge amount of farming subsidies when the country almost went tits up in the 80s and we lost our guaranteed English markets and stuff like that. So I would love to see more examination of why that is.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't stack up. They've been given a big bribe of what they're affected by this uncapped tax cut on new equipment, right? New utes and plant and all of that sort of stuff. It's a massive bribe.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. We should think about fitting out the studio, bro. Claim all that money back. That would work, wouldn't it? Something like that. Yeah.
At a national level, though, Labour is on top, according to the latest Taxpayers Union Courier.
You don't get to say that. They're not on top. That's, that's language is inappropriate. They're leading. Luxon is not
margin of error.
And margin of error. Is that another dirty sex move?
It's
got myself a margin of error.
error.
Oh no, you're still talking about the poll. Okay, sorry, my mind was elsewhere.
Poll out
I'm on the
today.
job.
It shows Labour up 1.6 points to 34.8%, and
on.
National is down 1.1 to 33.5%. ACT is down 0.4 to 9.1%. The Greens are down 0.9 to 8.2%. New Zealand First drops 1.3 to 6.1%, while Te Pāti Māori is down 0.6 to 3.3%.
Well, Labour team's been working hard around the country to make sure we're getting out and about amongst the community. So we're encouraged by the feedback that we're getting. It's reflected in an increase in our poll ratings.
A bit of a dampener for National on a day it was celebrating the primary sector, pushing the economy to greener pastures.
every Waikato person had an erection watching those tractors do that. Again, you got to be careful with your words, Shippy. You know, working the pole around the country, it's just got to be real careful. Look, I agree with you, Chewy. We're very much about margin of error. But I'll say again what I said at the start of the show. Historically speaking, a new government should be killing it in the first term. They should be 10, 15 points ahead of their opposition. You know, the whole country, and I'm just going to use words that people would use, whole country was pissed with Labour and booted them out viciously at the last election. And for them to be basically neck and neck, trending neck and neck, a year up from election at the end of the first term of a new government is unheard of. It's unheard of. That's the thing that's interesting. It's like, you guys, either Labour's good enough to stay in touch, or National's that bad that they can't shake them. You know, you can either be a great runner coming second and just choosing to stay in touch with the person in front, or you can be someone who is leading, but you're not good enough to move away from the person behind. Both can be the reason. We don't know which it is, and we probably won't know for 12 months. So, yeah, it's interesting, though.
I'm frustrated with the farming sector. Out of every sector that we have in our economy, these guys had their asses hanging in the wind because of the climate change that's coming, because of their exposure to the fluctuations in international markets and that sort of thing. And they're just sticking to the same old views. And I don't know how that changes. Like, the Federated Farmers isn't doing them any favours. No. The party that they vote for isn't doing them any favours, because they're not having an adult conversation with them about the fact that we need to be looking at resilience. You need to realise that the hillsides that you've relied on might not be there if the climate gets hotter and wetter. You know, you're going to be exposed to more change in the seasons, unreliable seasons and that sort of thing. Like, and I think back to how Labour dealt with the what was that disease outbreak that they had down south,
Bovine?
Bovis.
Right?
Bovis. You know, Labour dealt with that. That could have been absolutely devastating. And I'm not going to take away from how devastating it was for the farms affected, but if that had spread further than it had, but it gets ignored. Nobody remembers that. I don't know how you get through to the farming sector.
Well, but the thing is as well, the thing that has always been very confusing, that's the farming sector. And I've showed this once before on this podcast, but I'll show it again. When Jacinda Ardern left, the agriculture sector loses a friend. Federated Farmers President Andrew Hoggard believes the agriculture sector is losing a friend with the shock resignation of Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. He told Rural News that Ardern was one of the more supportive voices that farmers had among cabinet ministers. Many people may think that I've had too much to drink during my holidays, but within the cabinet, she supported the ag sector more than anybody else. You know, it just seems a bit strange that on one hand, all the farmers think a certain way. On the other hand, people that actually dealt with the politicians was like, yeah, she was pretty good for the ag sector.
And I think politicians that try to split off the rural sector and the urban sector and that sort of thing and just go, oh, you know, fucking townies don't understand what you guys go through. That's like, those guys should see that for what it is, which is just insane pandering. There's an enormous pushback on the rest of the country when we say, hey, look, we make all of this food, but we pay this money. Like, and it's the supermarkets, and you know, why are we paying export prices for butter? Why is it cheaper to get New Zealand lamb in Australia or the UK than it is here? It doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't. Why can't I swim in the river anymore? Why is the water table around Ashburton just full of nitrates? We want you guys to do better. And then the conversation becomes, see, these townies don't understand. No farmers, no food. Drive your tractor up the main street. I know there's good farmers out there. I know that there are guys that are replanting wetlands that have been drained by previous generations and that sort of thing. But that's not the conversations that we're having. It's incredibly frustrating.
All right, super chats. There's a lot of them in there, so we'll go through some of these quickly, and then we'll get to the last story. JC and the Pigeon Cats. I don't need my 100 XP. Please give it to a starving kid. Akadakat. AKA the cat. That's probably what it is. Exactly, Chewy. Labour, less meh, more mongrel. For fuck's sake. Andrew says, Jacinda inspired people to vote for her. Hard disagree. Inspire them to us. The centre have no morals or values, and the right are heinous trickle-down acolytes. Stand firm on actual leftist values. Agreed. Couldn't agree more. I can agree with you, though, and also go the centre-left still needs to be won by someone, or else there's no left government.
Yeah, but do good ideas come from the centre?
No.
Like, I mean that. Like, you can say things that matter to the left, you know, environmental causes, social justice causes. Or on the right, you know, how free can we get the market, free speech, that sort of thing. And then the guys in the middle are just sort of like, well, I don't know, maybe, maybe we don't. And I think that's the thing. What are you representing?
But I agree with all of that. I can agree with all of that and still go the centre needs to be won. I mean, if the centre's not won by the left, then it's going to vote for the right. So that's my fridge turning off. It'll come back on in a second. You watch. I don't know why my fridge makes it do that, but it does. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's going to go big and wide and ugly, is it? Oh dear! Look at me. Anyway, I'll just do this for a bit and turn my camera off. I don't know how to do that.
Pat has been banished to the Netherlands.
Chewy speaks to my soul. Kaumatara. Don't push popular centre policies, but make policies popular, e.g. UBI, should be framed as security that rewards ambition. Right wing love that rhetoric. Yeah, nice, like that. Yep. Again, Whetu Marama. I think the middle need to be educated that Māori will not leave them behind. Manakitanga is paramount.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I keep on coming back to the phrase, you know, what's good for Māori is good for all of us, because it's true.
Yep.
It's not something to be afraid of. Pat's gone completely, and it's just big Chewy now. So gather around, children. Yeah, I wonder about the middle. I don't know how to solve the problem. Like, I freely admit that I don't understand the middle.
Can you hear me?
I have never once thought of voting for the right because they reflect none of the values that I consider important to me.
Yep.
So I don't get the people that will go, oh, I could go either way.
Yeah,
it just doesn't resonate with me. And so there, I don't know how to talk to these people. I don't know how to talk of these people. I don't know what they want. It's weird to me.
Okay, here's one thing that it could be, and I'm with you. Yeah, I agree with you about don't know how to vote for them. But if someone says that they're like socially liberal and fiscally conservative, or fiscally or socially conservative and fiscally liberal, I guess I could understand the concept of them going, I feel like voting more with my my social side. I get more of a sense of my in this election. I don't know if that is anyone in the world, but if they, you used to hear John Key say that, I'm socially liberal and fiscally conservative. Like if he was to decide, well, the social issues are the most important issues this time around for some reason, then I don't know. Could be. Anyway, we'll keep going. Arvid says they are not real. I looked it up for something.
That's the Labour account that we were talking about.
Gotcha. If anyone tries to tell you that all politicians are the same, so they won't vote, kindly tell them I'd like a word. Dave says Luxon got cussed out by a stall holder when he blocked the aisle, was asked to move, mouthed off at him. That guy got kicked out, lost his $4,000 site. Really? That doesn't sound like Luxon's helping small business very much, does it?
I wish that was captured on camera.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Slogans work. Labour ain't left is the messaging we need. Labour ain't left. If we want actual change, Labour support a genocide and fight for billionaires. Go green, fam. Okay, I see what you're doing there. Break up Fonterra, says Peter.
Hey, speaking of Fonterra, I think it was actually Labor that set up Fonterra. Something else that's maybe not remembered by the farming sector.
Karteni says, why not Penny Hinari as PM? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think he's one of the front runners, but who knows? Who knows? Andrew, early tap out fee. Is that a thing? Love your work. Arvid says, Big Chewy with a big job. And late Ano, says Melanie. Right, Chewy. We've got one more story. We should probably get to it, even though we've kind of done it.
So actually, 10 seconds.
I actually looked at it, and the clip is 59 seconds. And part of me thinks, I wonder if I haven't edited this correctly. I wonder if... So let's all do this together, Fano. It's quite interesting, actually, because, you know, I hate these kinds of questions from reporters. Oh, what are you paying for a pound of butter at the minute? But then actually turns into quite an interesting little conversation between Ginny Anderson and Paul Goldsmith about who is to blame for the price of that butter, rather than what is the price of your butter.
What are you paying for butter at the moment at the supermarket? Ginny, you first?
$8.50 on special.
So you're finding the deal, and Paul?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's better. I see that Pack and Save are celebrating their 40 years. You never know. Sometimes it can be a bit cheaper. And I've seen it for $7.50, but it keeps on going up at the.
It's a free advert from Minister. Well done.
Moment. So.
That's up there with Trump going, I love Tesla. I love Tesla. I love, it's all computer. I love Tesla.
50, but it keeps on going up at the moment. So it's pretty bad.
$8 for a scone. Not good.
Yeah.
Why is it so expensive?
Well, as you
cost
can
of
see.
living crisis. This government have failed under cost of living. If butter is $8.50 and a scone is $8.
I think it's something related to global butter
now
prices.
it's global. And now it's a global problem, is it?
It's a
Get
global
him,
commodity.
Ginny!
But,
it wasn't the case when we were in government.
It's one of those things that when the farmers are doing well on that front, it does make it more difficult domestically. Similar with meat. But look, it's a very tough time, and so we're very focused on
Why does it have to be
everything
that
we
way?
can to help people, New Zealanders, with the cost of living pressures. But butter is expensive at the moment.
You've cut wages. Wages have gone down in terms of pay equity, in terms of workers' wages. So they're not keeping up with inflation, and they can't buy butter. It's pretty unbelievable.
We've got to make a living. That's why getting the tourists back is important.
Good God. Good God.
Okay.
Paul Goldsmith
so
did
tourists,
not come out of that looking well.
Paul Goldsmith, a tourist coming back going to make my butter cheaper?
Yeah.
No, because the tourism market is not related to the international commodities market, which is where we sell our butter. But yes, this idea that because countries overseas will pay this price for our butter, so we have to pay that price, is insane.
I think we've kind of talked it through tonight, actually. Businesses in New Zealand, you don't do this on your own. We all actually help you. So we should get some kickback for that. Fonterra, you don't do this on your own. We, the people, we fund the roads you drive on. You know, there's a lot of tax that goes into your success. So why the hell should we pay the same for a kilo of butter or a kilo of lamb or whatever it is with whichever company, when you're getting that price overseas because of some of the money that we have put into this country? As I said before, you went to a public school. We paid for that school. You're using the education to advance yourself and leading up into what you're doing for a job now. I actually think that's a really fair point. Like, I think it's a really fair point that we are basically investors in the success of Fonterra through our tax, what we've paid, and what those people of Fonterra and Fonterra of itself has gotten back out of our tax and continues to, whether it's just driving on the roads. So yeah, that means you're making more money off New Zealanders than off someone in Australia, in China, or in Japan, if it's the same price, because you're also getting all the perks that we pay for that you use in this country, so you're making more off us. That seems a bit scummy to me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Hey, we're pretty much done. I think we've done everything, haven't we? Chantelle, cost of living, Ferries dying, polls. Yep, those are our 4 stories for tonight. Anything else you want to leave the week with, Chewy? Anything else you want to get out there?
No. Oh, actually, maybe one thing. One thing. I promise. I paused this earlier. It's old. It's older data. Just something I saw pop up. So conclusions data collected between 2018 and 2014. It's the difference between tax evasion and benefit fraud.
Yep.
And it just shows the resources that are going into, or went into, I guess, investigating and trying to claw back that taxpayer money. Now, I'm no mathematician, but it just seems to be that some more effort needs to be put into the tax evasion column for a bigger return on our money.
Yeah.
Seems like some very rich people are hiding some money under the mattress.
So if you're listening to the audio podcast, the top lines all we need to read. It says conclusions drawn from data collected between 2008 2014. Value of tax evasion versus welfare fraud committed in 2014. Tax evasion, 1.24 billion. Benefit fraud, 30 million. Yeah. Average portion of income earners, benefits, recipients investigated for tax evasion, benefit fraud, 0.01% for tax evasion, 5% for benefit fraud. Average number of prosecutions brought forward in a year, 60 to 80 for tax evasion, 800 to 1,000 for benefit fraud. Average value of offending, 229,000 for tax evasion, 77,000 for benefit fraud. That still feels very high to me for benefit fraud, although it's much less. That's a lot of, that's a whack of fucking $300 a week. Average portion of offenders who received prison sentences. Okay, so prison sentences, tax evasion, 18%, benefit fraud, 67%. Holy shit. Average amount spent by IRD, MSD recovering every $100 of tax welfare debt. So how much do they spend for every $100 returned? Tax evasion, $3. They'd spend on $3 to look for $100 worth of tax evasion. They'd spend $17 to look for $100 worth of benefit fraud. Tax/welfare debt written off in the 2011-2012 financial year. In the tax evasion column, they wrote off $435 million. In the benefit fraud column, they wrote off $8.7 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
Admittedly, that's old data. That's almost 10 years old. I'd love to see what it is now. Or maybe they just won't show us that.
All right. That was interesting, Joey. You're an interesting wee chap. Okay, team. I guess the kids are in tomorrow night. And, yep, lots of people saying great table. Daniel saying great table, too. Well done. We like that one. We don't like the table, but we like that you brought that table information forward.
I brought it from home.
Oh, thanks. Was it one you made at home? Here's one we made earlier.
And that's my story.
It's my birthday this Saturday. Are we still going out for dinner? We having a party? I think we are, aren't we?
Yes, actually, my birthday is also coming up, so I should probably tell people about that.
We should do a double, yeah?
Not you.
Should we do a double hand? A double hand on. We could do a double hand on Saturday night.
Double hand?
Like your party and my party, birthdays together. You can invite your friends.
Right.
You can invite all your friends, and I'll invite you. Oh, I got no friends. Cool. We'll talk about that. So, yep. So I'll be having a birthday stuff. I got my presents today. I know what they are because I pointed them out. I'm going to start playing golf again. I used to play a lot of golf.
Oh,
and
God.
Dad passed away, and I got his golf clubs, and so I've only just received them, and I'm gonna start hitting some balls again. And we got me a ball putt returner to play putting games inside. That's what I got. That's my birthday present. And of course, birthday. It's birthday. You know what I'm saying? It's birthday time. Sorry, I've just got a tick. I will stop that right now.
Wow.
Okay, Whānau, we will catch you on Monday night for another edition. I guess, as I said, the kids will be in here tomorrow night to look after yous all. And other than that, have yourself a happy and safe weekend. We hope to see every single one of you back on Monday night. And next week, we're possibly talking to someone from Sharing Wealth. We've confirmed a few conversations there, and I've got a few other things lined up as well. So be well, be safe, and we will catch you next Monday from 9 p.m. But make sure you check out Emily and Magenta tomorrow night from 9 as well.
Help us settle it to be, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all
Anything, Chewy? You want to leave the whānau with? Wrap up the show with? Wrap up the week with?
No, I've used up all my words, I think.
All right.
It's been a big old week.
Have a fun weekend, whānau. We'll see you Monday night. My words are gone too. Hooroo. See you, team.
Cheers, fam. See ya.